Welcome back to the channel, Upcyclers. We are doing a little bit of a different PSA reveal today. And it's more of a virtual reveal because these cards never actually physically came back to me, but the two cards that I did this test with did sell. And what we're talking about is the relatively new now PSA Grade and Sell program. So basically, if you haven't seen this before, how it works is you send a card in to grade like normal, but they discount the price of the grading as well as expedite the processing time, the turnaround time. And in exchange for that, you're agreeing that you're going to let them sell it on eBay for you, or I guess technically also the PSA offers, which we're going to talk about in a second when we get to that point. And it never comes back to you. So it's if there's a card that you are 100% definitely wanting to sell and you're grading it just to try to increase the value and sell it, this is a really interesting option. And I'm gonna go through my experience with it so you can see how the process works. You can see how it worked for me, and maybe decide for yourself if it's something would be of benefit to you. So here are the program terms. The only difference is at the time I did it, it was a 10-day turnaround and it was $49 a card because the max insured value was $1,500 a card. Like it says, there's no minimum, there's no fees other than the grading cost, and they'll start an eBay auction at 99 cents. Now, one thing they don't mention there is in the time from when the grades pop to when the auction actually starts, they give you a couple of days for any of the PSA offers to come through. And spoiler alert, I did get one, and we will talk about that when we get to that slide. So here is one of the cards that I bought. You can see the date. Obviously I got it before the season started, and that was also one of the reasons I wanted to try this program, was because it was the only way I could see that I could get it for a reasonable amount of money turned around fast enough to sell. And if you've watched many of the videos before, you know I am not a big football collector. I'm more of a baseball and non-sports guy, but the timing seemed right, color match. I got a really good deal. This is when I won an auction. So the order total at the top of $251.11, that was the total. That's tax, shipping, auction fee, everything. And then we also got this one. Now this one I was considering keeping briefly when I got it, but when I got it in hand, it just looked so nicely centered and so clean, plus the timing working out. I was thinking like right before the season ended with people, picking up some stuff, maybe, his market picking up a little bit due to the playoffs and how well the Brewers have been doing. I went with this one as well. So here is the order itself as it came back. You can see down in the bottom right, it did in fact both get a gem mint. One comment I will make is I've seen a bunch of chatter online, and I'm sure somebody in the comments below will probably say something conspiracy theorist about, that they would grade more leniently or were more likely to give a 10 on their grade to sell special because they could sell it for more. Their percentage was more. People would like the program more. People would use it more. All that good stuff. And I firmly am in the camp of not believing that. With the amount of volume that PSA does, the risk that they would take by doing anything even remotely shady like that is just not worth it to them. I really think PSA has gotten so big and got such a stranglehold on the market, dare I say even a monopoly of the market, that it's just not worth it to them to do anything other than try to do their very best to grade as consistently and accurately as possible and not mess up. That being said, humans are humans, and we've all seen and heard of scenarios where someone's cracked out a PSA 6 and sent it in and gotten a PSA 10. I know it's happened to me, but I think that's more of a just inconsistency from human to human and or honest mistakes that happen, more so than it is any sort of like orchestrated conspiracy, pop count, control, all that good stuff. So And I say that because the J.J. McCarthy card, when I couldn't see it through the slab, but when I cracked out both of the cards from those slabs, there was a scratch on it. It wasn't a huge scratch, but without too much effort and moving it around under a light source, I was able to see one. It was kind of in the front, in the top, just to the kind of between his head and the border at the top of the card, slightly to the right. There was a little surface mark scratch. So when I saw that, I almost didn't send it. But at that point, I figured it would be, I still wanted to try the program out, so I could make this video. So I thought it would be an interesting experiment. And I was genuinely surprised and pleased when it came back a 10. And, someone that was more of a conspiracy theorist might read something into that. So here are the end results of the sales. Now, you will notice that the J.J. McCarthy says PSA fixed price, since we're already talking about that one. This came as an offer. Now, some people say that that's PSA buying your card. It actually isn't. PSA has a network of pre-approved third parties, which are like, bigger online sellers, a lot of card shops, maybe some people that, do the, card show circuit. Somebody that might have a booth at like, the National or Shipshewana or Dallas or one of those, able to make offers. And I threw up a Reddit post when this offer came in because I didn't even realize that was an option and a thing. I thought they were all just automatically going to auction. And I got a unanimous response on it of take the money and run. And I'm glad I did, because I think overall his market is certainly a little down. And I probably would not have done as well at auction, because this offer came right when the grades popped. You can see how it sold on September 3rd, which is when the grades popped. But the other card didn't sell until the 12th. And that was a 7-day auction. So the auction didn't even start for another 2 days after the grade pop, because they give you this time, if you have any offers on your cards, to make that decision. So I decided to take the money. And what's nice is you can see there are no fees. So that was the amount that I actually got, minus, of course, the $50 I spent grading the thing. But overall, to go from $251 to $733, but $251, if you add the $50 for the grading, it was really like $301. So because there was no other shipping, right? Because they didn't have to ship it back to me, anything like that. No other fees for selling it. So I was into it for exactly $301, and I got $733 out of it when it 10'd. So that went really, really well. So I'm very pleased how well that went and how little I actually had to do. There was really no more effort than any other grading submission that I've done in the past. Now, I did not get an auction offer on the Churio. Interestingly, it doesn't show it anymore, but it did have it would show what it thought it was going to go for at auction, give you an estimate. And I think on mine it was estimating $700 to $900, and it did end up going for $665. But you are charged fees, because obviously PSA is getting charged fees by eBay, so they're really just passing that along to you. And so the net proceeds of that was $585. So both of which, as you would expect, going from an SGC 9.5 to a PSA 10 and selling them with, reasonably good market timing, I did come out with a nice profit on this. So overall, if you've got a card, and if I have cards in the future that I want to turn around quickly and sell, I think this is a very, very viable option. And if any of you have tried this or have any thoughts on it, I would love to know in the comments below. I'm sure someone will have some conspiracy theories to share with us down in the comments about how if I would have sent it in normal to get graded and have it sent back to me, it would have got a 9. And it very well might have. It's one of those cards where, and that's quite possibly why it got an SGC 9.5. That, an SGC 9.5 really is kind of a tweener. Like, I don't think the grading standards are all that different between SGC and PSA. So when you've got a card that is that kind of gray area coin flip between getting a 9 and a 10, if you send it to PSA, they don't have a 9.5, so it kind of is a coin flip between the two. And if it's SGC, they can just give it a 9.5. But if you take that same card and send it into PSA, you're essentially just doing the coin flip. And because the premiums are so big for PSA and PSA 10s, even a lot of times, if you look, PSA 9s sell for pretty close to an SGC 9.5. There's relatively minimal risk. And I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler alert for some future videos I have coming up. I've got a half dozen different orders out of various things at PSA right now, one of which is almost done. So hopefully I'll have another one of these videos coming up in a few weeks that we can go over. But that's what I've been doing a lot of, is buying strong subgrade BGS 9s and poor subgraded BGS 9.5s, SGC 9.5s, and even a few 10s from some like rando grading companies out there, and sending those in and rolling the dice and seeing what happens. Because the PSA 10 premium is just become so gigantic in the market that, to me, it's worth the gamble. Anyway, as always, thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this. We are inching ever close to the 1,000 subscribers when I can start monetizing these videos. And of course, all of those cents and occasional dollars that I make on these videos, I will of course put right back into the channel, getting more grading done, buying more cards, having a good time with y'all. So anyway, do all that usual YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, tell your friends, and yeah, have a great day, enjoy yourself, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.